two.
Let's do the small. The two. Okay.
Oh, mine is Did you pick one online?
You said some of the other ones, like
The lady told me colorful bus is taking over.
So it came right at you, and then as it was about to close, you know, when the car finally gets to the camera, it just all went black, and then there was like wind everywhere because it was trying to simulate a car rushing past you, and it was so cool. And another thing, and as it ended, it had these flashing light, it had a flashing light to signify the headlights, and that was so cool. You have to be there. You have to go to the I'm talking about the factory. You really need to go there. You need to see it for yourself. It's so cool. The factory tour, it's mind-blowing.
For you guys to touch and feel. Once they put the sedum on the roof, they realized that there were some side benefits to it. It makes the factory 10 degrees cooler in the summer and 10 degrees warmer in the winter, saving Ford $2.4 million of the factory. Do you see yellow fencing? Now, when they finish with an F-150 truck, it comes out the right side of this building and it goes onto the outdoor test track. Once they finish, they call this last test the shake, rattle, and roll. And I think we're going to have a truck that's going to start, the black truck. When it goes down there, once it turns around and heads towards us, you can see it begin to accommodate for that huge pothole. Once they go through the outdoor test track, they park the vehicles either on this side of the railroad tracks or across the street in one of the lots for finished vehicles. That pavement, underneath the parking lots and underneath every blade of grass are holding tanks to capture the water and redirect it. The reason they do that, you know, Henry bought this property over 100 years ago. Now, if we were standing here 15 plus years ago, we would see a huge black cloud over the Rouge from all of the pollution that the factories created. Today, there is no huge black cloud over the Rouge because they planted 1,500 trees. You're going to go into the factory where they are building only the F-150, all 7 models of the F-150. They do 2 10-hour shifts. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have some before you go down. Thanks so much for coming today.
Alright, so we finished this tour of the factory. There were some parts that they wouldn't allow us to film, especially in the theater and in the assembly line. But I'll get to that. So, going over the whole tour, first we went through the main entrance. They told us the rules, not to film, don't go anywhere out of restricted, you know, the usual stuff. And then they directed us to the first theater, the Station 1, which was a theater, and it showed a movie about the history of Ford. And it was a cool movie that actually mentioned a very cool fact. It used to take 12 hours to manufacture one car, that was the Model T. Then it went to taking 90 minutes per car after assembly lines started becoming more developed. And finally now, it's 60 cars per hour in this factory. And that's like, that's, to put it into perspective, that's 1,200 per day. So that's way different than like the 2 per day that you had with the old ones. Anyway, after that they led us to the second station, which was the art of manufacturing. It was another theater that was very cool. It had 6 screens all around, and it was talking about the Ford 150 itself and how much thought went into creating it. So for example, it went over each step of the process. And at the front of it, there was a cool mechanism that had a truck come up from and had like sort of these projections that displayed each part of the video, and it was related to each part of the video. So like if it was talking about doors, then the doors would light up, and if it was talking about painting, then the whole car would become like different colored. And it's just a blank canvas, but it has projections on it that make it look different colors. So at the very end of it was the coolest part, that you know those commercials where it just has it driving along an empty landscape? It had sort of like that, but the car, and it had it like colored to be like a regular car with the red and the white or black or blue. And then in the back it had a rolling landscape. So it kind of looked like those commercials from the back, but in the first perspective. So at the end of it, it just had it whizzing by, and they turned on fans in the room, so like all this wind came out and it was so cold. And then, I think that was a different part. So it came right at you, and then as it was about to close, when the car finally gets to the camera, it just all went black, and then there was like wind everywhere because it was trying to simulate a car rushing past you, and it was so cool. And another thing, and as it ended, it had these flashing light. It had a flashing light to signify the headlights, and that was so cool. You have to be there. You have to go to the Ford Museum in order to actually I think it's called Rouge. I'm talking about the factory. You really need to go there. You need to see it for yourself. It's so cool. The factory tour, it's mind-blowing. And then after the second station, they lead you to a third station, which overlooks the whole factory itself, and that's an observatory. So it's this room with glass windows all around it, and it has all this information about the Ford factory. So one of the key things that they talked about was that they have these plants on the top of each roof and each wall that sort of help out with many facets. Like, for example, they absorb water. This is important because the Ford factory, its area is in a marshland, and that gets like a ton of water. It's also used to insulate the factory and do a lot of other cool things. They also talk about a lot of the features that they do to the factory in order to make it more resistant and more efficient. And then after that, we go to the actual assembly line, and it's so cool. You need to go there to see for yourself. But there's just like a ton of workers, and they're all working on this conveyor belt thing. I'm not sure how to describe it, but the cars go on a conveyor belt, and as it goes along, different workers come and add different parts, or they I don't know what the word is, but they each play a small but important part in manufacturing a car, and it's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Maybe not the coolest thing I've ever seen, but definitely one of the coolest things that you will ever see in your life. This right here is what the spotlight of the whole factory is on, the Ford F-150. And it's a really cool truck. I forgot to mention that in the second station, this was the car that was featured. They were talking about its assembly, and that was the model used for showing everything that would happen to the car. And this is like Ford's, what's the word for like the main feature, like the paragon, I guess. The top car for Ford right now. I mean, my dad likes old Ford, but I mean, you can't deny that new Ford is also that good. See, don't you think this is a beauty? Wow, that goes into these things. You would never expect it, but if you actually look in, you see all these workers. They play a small part, but every worker goes into the production of these. And it's just so cool to think about it after you go through the tour. Like, just looking at this one like car, you don't expect like 1,000 or people to work on just one car. Maybe it's not 1,000. Definitely over 100 people working on just one car. They do this like 60 times per hour. That's the coolest thing ever. See, I really want to buy something for my friends. I'm planning on getting them these small red Wienermobile molds, but it's because everything else is so expensive. The Wienermobiles are only $1 per mold, but these are like $15. But maybe I should get them.